Okay, let me tell you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me in the comments. Would you have done what I did? Because my parents, the very same ones who told me they wouldn't lift a finger to help me pay for college, are now absolutely furious with me. Why? Because I refused to fund my younger sister's lavish, over-the-top dream wedding. A wedding she absolutely does not need, especially when I'm still drowning in student loan debt from the education they refused to support. Tell me, was I wrong for standing my ground? I genuinely need to know if my anger is justified here. Let me take you back to the beginning to understand the full scope of this monumental betrayal and the absolute audacity of their current demands. I'm the older sibling, and growing up, there was always this unspoken, yet deeply felt, hierarchy in our family. My younger sister, Chloe, was always the golden child. She was the one who effortlessly excelled in everything sports, academics, popularity. Me, I was just me, the quiet, bookish one who spent more time in my room with my nose in a textbook than out socializing. It wasn't that my parents overtly favored her. It was more subtle, a constant preference in their tone, their attention, and their financial allocations. It became glaringly obvious when it was time for me to go to college. I had worked incredibly hard in high school, maintained excellent grades, and got into a decent state university. It wasn't an Ivy League, but it was a good school with a strong program in my chosen field, and I was genuinely excited about the prospect of higher education. My parents, however, quickly deflated that dream. They sat me down one evening, and my dad, with a very serious expression, said, "Look, we just don't have the money to pay for your tuition, my name. We're stretched thin, and frankly, we believe you should learn to be independent. You can take out student loans, work part-time, figure it out." My heart sank. I knew financially things weren't always easy, but we weren't poor. We lived comfortably, took family vacations, and Chloe always had the latest gadgets and designer clothes. I tried to argue, to explain how much this meant to me, but they were firm. It was a cold, hard no. They insisted it was for my own good, to teach me responsibility. So, I did exactly what they said. I took out a substantial amount of student loans, worked 2 part-time jobs throughout college, and scraped by. It was tough, really tough. I missed out on a lot of the college experience because I was constantly working or studying, always stressed about money. Every single penny I earned went towards textbooks, rent, or trying to minimize the astronomical interest accruing on my loans. I graduated with a degree, yes, but also with a mountain of debt that has been a constant weight on my shoulders ever since. Meanwhile, Chloe's high school years were a stark contrast. She decided college wasn't for her, which was fine. But instead of encouraging her to find a trade or a sustainable career path, my parents indulged her every whim. She wanted to travel after high school. They paid for a gap-year trip to Europe. She wanted to pursue various creative hobbies that never quite stuck. They bought her expensive equipment for each one, only for it to be abandoned a few months later. It was always, "Chloe needs this," or "Chloe deserves that." My resentment simmered, but I tried to push it down. I told myself that everyone's path is different, and I shouldn't compare. I worked diligently, got a good job in my field, and slowly but surely, I started chipping away at my student loans. It was a long, arduous process, but I was proud of my independence, proud that I was doing it all myself. I even helped my parents out financially a few times when they had unexpected expenses, always happy to contribute, always hoping that perhaps now they'd see my efforts, my struggle, and maybe, just maybe, acknowledge the unfairness of the past, Then came the engagement. Chloe met Liam, a perfectly nice, if somewhat unremarkable, guy. They'd been together for a couple of years, and the proposal was exactly as expected. Grand, public, and plastered all over social media. And then the wedding planning began. That's when the true absurdity of my parents' expectations and Chloe's entitlement fully unraveled. Chloe started talking about her dream wedding. Not a nice wedding, not a memorable wedding, but a dream wedding. And in her mind, a dream wedding meant lavish. We're talking a destination wedding in Italy, a bespoke designer gown that cost more than my first car, a Michelin star caterer, a famous band, and a guest list that could fill a small stadium. The estimates she was throwing around were astronomical, easily 6 figures. My jaw practically hit the floor every time she described another extravagant detail. My parents, instead of gently reining her in, were egging her on. "It's your special day, darling." My mom would coo. "You deserve the best." My blood pressure started to rise just listening to them. I kept quiet, observing, waiting for the inevitable moment when reality would hit them. It never did. Instead, I received a call from my mom a few weeks ago, asking me to come over for dinner. I walked in, and they were all sitting there, Chloe beaming, Liam looking a little bewildered. My parents looked overly serious, like they were about to deliver some incredibly important news. My mom started, "Sweetheart, we know you've been doing so well with your job, and you've been so responsible." I immediately tensed. I knew where this was going. They went on about how Chloe's wedding budge, it was a little tight, and how they really wanted her to have the wedding of her dreams. My dad then looked me square in the eye and said, "We were hoping you could help us out. We've calculated it, and if you could contribute, say, $50,000, that would really make a difference. It would truly make Chloe's day." $50,000. My mind reeled. I sat there, stunned into silence, trying to process the sheer audacity, the monumental hypocrisy. These were the same people who, less than a decade ago, told me they didn't have a dime for my education, leaving me to shoulder an insurmountable debt. And now they expected me to just casually hand over enough money to buy a luxury car, not for a necessity, not for an investment, but for a one-day party for my sister. The entitlement radiated off them like heat. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I am, still paying off thousands in student loans, meticulously budgeting, sacrificing so many things just to get out from under that financial burden. And they expect me to pour my hard-earned money, money that could go towards my own future, my own financial stability, into a wedding that is purely for show and completely unnecessary. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have caved? Would you have sacrificed your own financial future for the sake of a dream wedding? For someone who never had to struggle? Be honest, I need to know your thoughts. I took a deep breath, feeling a storm brewing inside me. The years of suppressed resentment, the feeling of being overlooked and undervalued, all boiled to the surface. I looked at my parents, then at Chloe, who was still smiling expectantly, completely oblivious to the injustice she was demanding. "Are you serious?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm, almost a whisper. My mom's smile faltered. "Of course, dear. It's family. We help each other. We help each other." I repeated, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "Is that what you call it?" Because I distinctly remember asking for help when I was 18, when I needed money for college, for my future, for something that would actually benefit me in long run. And what did you tell me then? You told me you were stretched thin, that I needed to learn independence, that I needed to figure it out myself. You told me you didn't have a dime for me, and now You want me to fund Chloe's extravagant party, $50,000, while I'm still paying off the student loans you refuse to help me with." The room went silent. The smiles vanished from my parents' faces, replaced by shocked, then angry, expressions. Chloe's jaw dropped. "That's different," my dad finally stammered, his face turning red. "That was your education. This is Chloe's special day." "Oh, so my education wasn't special." I shot back, my voice rising. "My future wasn't worth investing in, but a lavish wedding for someone who hasn't worked a day to earn that kind of money is. The hypocrisy is astounding. I spent years working 2 jobs, living on ramen, stressing about interest rates, all while you indulged Chloe's every whim. And now, you expect me to just hand over my hard-earned money for a party, money I could use to finally pay off my debt, to buy a house, to build a future that *I* worked for. My mom started to tear up. "How can you be so selfish? This is your sister. You're ruining her special day." "I'm not ruining anything," I said, standing up, my hands trembling. "You are. You instilled this sense of entitlement in her, and you're still trying to use me to enable it. I worked for my money, and I'm not going to throw it away on something so frivolous. Especially when you never supported me when it mattered most. The answer is no, absolutely not. Not a single cent." And with that, I walked out. The silence I left behind was deafening. The aftermath has been a whirlwind of emotional manipulation. My parents have been calling me non-stop, leaving furious voicemails, accusing me of being heartless, ungrateful, and a terrible sibling. Chloe has sent me a few scathing texts, calling me jealous and selfish. They've even started trying to rally other family members against me, spreading their version of the story, making me out to be the villain. But surprisingly, some family members, particularly my aunts and uncles who know the full history, have actually sided with me, recognizing the unfairness of the situation. It hasn't been easy. The emotional toll of being ostracized by my own parents is heavy. But every time I feel a pang of doubt, I remember those lonely nights in college, the endless hours of work, the constant stress of my loans, and the bitter taste of their refusal to help me. And then the doubt dissipates, replaced by a firm resolve. I have chosen to prioritize my own financial well-being and stand up for myself, for the first time in my life, against their blatant favoritism. I won't be tripped into paying for a wedding they could easily scale down if they truly wanted to. The wedding is still happening, albeit a slightly less extravagant version, I hear. My parents are apparently dipping into their retirement savings to make up some of the difference, which honestly makes me even more furious. They'll sacrifice their own financial security for a party, but not for their child's education. It's a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that their priorities are so skewed. But I'm finally free from their financial manipulation, and that, in itself, feels like a victory. This whole experience has been a harsh lesson in setting boundaries and understanding what truly matters. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, even when it means facing the disapproval of the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. It's tough but necessary for your own well-being and financial future. So, that's my story. I've told you everything, laid it all bare. What do you think? Was I justified in my refusal? Was my anger misplaced? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Like this video if you were on my side and think I did the right thing. Subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess. I'll see you all in the next story.